welcome to back to 1795, October 7th, and as we continue with the battle against the convoy of the Levant. So the British, if you remember, the British are defending a convoy of 30 plus merchant ships, but here we have only the fighting squadron, or at least what's left of it, because the Royal Navy escort did split before the encounter, and they chanced upon actually the opposite, the Richery squadron, and excuse if I don't pronounce the name correctly, chanced upon the convoy after the escort did split. Well, abstractly, all the merchant ships are already trying to run away, and the Royal Navy small squadron, what's left of it, is trying to win as much time as possible. So we are going for turn 4 and see if the wind changes on turn 4. Oh, it did change. We rolled 0, means the wind changed, and now we have to roll on the wind adjustment table. And let's see. We got to 2, which 0 to 5. There's no change in the wind. Okay. Turn 4, we have, right, the command. Now the commands, we still have the Richery with the formation command, and this one will be out of command. I could use this 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I will do not a formation command, but what is referred as a group command. So basically you address the range, which is the number on the top there. Let me grab the counter so it's easier. Okay. So we have this range here. Oh, yeah, there we go. And this is the command rating. That little number is for seniority. Oops, sorry for that. The number on the corner is for seniority if there's more than one. Right, we're going to use the 5 for the range. Oops. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 4 ships are a group command. Taylor can, well, pretty much can only do a group command, and it will be these 2 ships. So I'm going to mark the out of command ships, so we have a clearer view of everything. And I'll use the same as before. I'll use 1 out of command for both frigates, and out of command for the Censeur, and 2 out of commands for the Révolution and the Duquesne. Right, we are good. Now initiative roll. So remember, the British have 1 audacity, the French have 0. Oops. There goes the die to the ground. Let me grab it. It's rolled quite far away. So we have a tie, but the British add 1, so they have a 4, and they win the initiative again. Well, they don't have the wind, but they are having the initiative here. So there was something I did wrong regarding the out of command, and I will I will explain it in a bit more detail. For example, now the Royal Navy captain or player can decide that he gives the movement to the Frenchies. The Frenchies have to activate something. And what happens is, for example, if they would all the remaining would be out of command, he would have to continuously activate out of command ships. So for example, after one player, okay, so the out of command ships not conforming to either of these conditions are considered out of command. Commands are determined at the beginning of each turn, so a ship may fall out of command during a turn, but is still considered part of command. So it's the initial situation. There's the determined command that we did, the determined initiative. Okay. The player who won the initiative for the turn then either selects a command or a single out of command ship to be activated. So the Royal Navy can activate the group or any single out of command ship. In this case, he passes the initial activation to the opponent. The players then alternate activating commands or single out of command ships until all ships have been activated. Okay. If one player still has ships to activate after his opponent has activated all of his own ships, he must make several activations in a row until all ships have been activated. Each command and out of command ships may be activated once per turn. There was one thing that I noticed regarding the out of command ships. Exactly, it's the exception. Generally, a player must always activate something when it is their turn. And actually, this scenario is good for this exception. Yeah, because Royal Navy has, well, at the moment is comparable because there's still a big group for the French, but the only exception to this is a player may pass on activation if his opponent just activated an out of command ship. So for example, and for the sake of the rule, the British are not going to pass the initiative, but they're going to activate the out of command, the censeur, and we have to roll against the score for the out of command. Let me find the table. I think it's against the command of the ship, of the commander. Alright, ships that are command. The die is rolled and compared to the fleet's audacity rating, deducting the fleet's admiral command quality if he's not dead. So his quality is 1. 7 minus 1, it's out of command. Basically, it cannot fire but move as normal. And now we are on a running course, so that would mean a 5. But the weather is calm, so it's a 4. So we move an out of command ship. 1, 2, 3. We're going to move 4. Okay. And now the initiative passes to the French. And the French player would have to move something. But given that the Royal Navy player moved activated an out of command ship, the French player may decide that he passes the activation to the British player. if the British player had played a group or a ship that wouldn't be out of command, and actually we could make the rules before adding the counters, but I think it's good for the split. Then you would have to move, but given the Royal Navy moved the out of command ship, now the French says no, the British have to move something. So what will happen here is actually that the Brits will also move something, which will be the routine, and they would be on the 2 movement points. They will use the extra for the small ships, which becomes a 3 minus 1 for calm, and they will move 1, 2, and make a rotation. The out of command doesn't, at the moment, doesn't mean, okay, they pass to the French. The French sees that the British player activated an out of command ship. Oh, we didn't roll for the routine, doesn't really matter, but yeah, it would be out of command. Majority is only for the firing, because they can move as normal. Okay, the French player says you activated an out of command ship, so I don't have to do anything. You can keep moving. He only has to do something if the British player didn't activate an out of command ship. The British player is okay with the situation, and he moves the Tisiphone to actually increased speed and actually makes that rotation. They are preparing for the firing there. And now he passes again to the French, and the French says, okay, I am going to activate my group command. So the Victoire is on going there, so is reaching, is a 5 minus 1, it's a 4. It's going to move 1. Now the Bedford could defense fire, but is looking already to that. So 1, 2, now the Victoire actually will open fire. The ship can only open fire after it has spent 1 movement point. It can back sails and stay in the same place, and the Victoire will open fire against the Fortitude. So we grab our firepower determination table. So we have relative rate of 3 at the range of 1, 2, 3, 4. If I fire at the hull, I can rake, but I will aim at the rigging, so we don't need to fire a rake here. We don't need to test for the rake. So firing high, a relative rate of 3 at the range of 1, 2, 3, 4 means a 6. Okay, now the relative rate modifiers. It is nothing is we don't apply. So we have a 6. It's shaded white. It adds 1, becomes a 7. Our audacity is 0. It's nothing, and its initial broadside. So 7 plus 2, it's a 9. So as we saw before, we are consulting column 9, and we're going to roll our score, and we roll the 1. So with the 1 we are targeting rigging, and we are a French doctrine, which gives +1 if we are French shooting at the rigging, but we are firing with the wind, so that's a -1. So it remains 1 + 1 2, -1 is 1, and we are firing in calm conditions, which is -2 becomes -1. Okay, so a 9, we go to the 0, and we did 1 single rigging damage to the Fortitude. And we mark that the Victoire fired his first broadside from his starboard, fired already the first broadside. All right. So we had moved 2, we can still move 2 more. So move 1, let's take this out. And now we can move, we can rotate from reaching to running by paying 1. All right, let's leave the smoke there. So let's continue. Now, oh, we have, well, didn't shoot the hull, we shot the rigging, so I don't think we have to test for Taylor. Actually, doesn't make sense, but we can clear that out right away. Let me just confirm regarding the commander casualties. Whenever a ship carrying 1 or more commanders suffers damage, it doesn't specify. So it suffered 1 rigging damage. So we have to roll, and on a 9 it becomes wounded. No, it's a 6. This is interesting because we are aiming high, gets wounded, but I guess it might be with spars and shrouds and yards falling down, and it might crash on the head of the commander. All right, so now we are going to move the Richelieu Jupiter, and we are running. We are 4 movement points, which -1 becomes -1 becomes 3. Okay, so we are going to move 1, 2, 3, and we are going to turn, and Bedford announces defensive fire against the Jupiter hull. The Bedford, yeah, the Bedford still has his first broadside, so yeah, it's going to be a defensive fire against the hull of the of the Jupiter. So the Bedford is a 3rd rate, but yep, 3rd rate at the range of 3. We have an 8, It's not shaded, so it's a straight third rate, so there's no firepower modifiers regarding that. We have an audacity of 1, so from 8 rises to 9, and it's our initial broadside on the port side. So a 9 plus 2, it's an 11. And the carronade bonus as well. So we are in 1795, and we are British fire at a range of 3, so it's a +1, so we are on 12. Let's not forget that. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna grab, so our firepower, we are aiming at column 12. So now we roll our die, and it's a 2. Now we are aiming at the hull. We rolled a 2. We are British. We add 1, becomes a 3, but we are firing into the wind, so we remove 1, so becomes a 2 again. So we cross-reference the 2 in the 12, aiming at the hull, and we made 2 hull damage to the Jupiter. I'm going to put the counter on the Jupiter, so we don't get lost. Okay, now we have to test for if the Richelieu gets wounded. Nope. The leaders only get wounded on a 9. So this was defensive fire, and the Richelieu is going to return the favor. You perfid Albion. As he gives the order to his lieutenants for all the batteries to engage and fire at the rigging of the Bedford. So the Jupiter will fire his starboard first broadside. Okay, same as before. It's a third rate, and we are at a range of 3, so we are at an 8. And we are shaded, now we are shaded white. We add 1, so 8 plus 1, it's a 9. Audacity is 0. Initial broadside, 9 plus 2, it's an 11. And carronade, plus 1, 11, it's a 12 as well. And we are aiming at the rigging. So aiming at the rigging, we are French ship firing. Oh, we have to roll. So we are on the 12 as well. So we don't forget, it's easy to forget. So 12. And we are going to roll a 7. So a 7 will become French ship firing. Becomes an 8 plus 1. We are firing with the wind against the rigging, so it becomes a 7. Minus 2 because it's calm conditions. So we are down to a 5. So we cross-reference the 5 with the 12 to the rigging. So we make 3 rigging damage to the Bedford. And there's the possibility of catching fire. And for catching fire, I have to roll under, I think it's under the damage I did, or equal or under. Let me check very fast here. I think it's under. Okay. There's a possibility, and I think it is under. I could roll right away, but we want to make this very correct for everyone to take out their doubts if they have any. Well, under is guaranteed. I just want to make sure if the equal counts. So we did 3 rigging damage, and the column had an asterisk on the damage, which means that we have to test for the possibility of the ship catching fire. Okay, damage effects. Okay, on fire. During fire combat, any results that includes an asterisk indicates that the fire may have started on the target ship. Roll a die if the result is less or equal. Okay, so we did 3 damage. On a 3 or less, the Bedford catches fire. Oh, okay. The Bedford is on fire. Where do I have the counters for the fire? Wow. I mean, it's pretty normal, and that it can happen. There we have it. During sea battles, sparkles and everything. I mean, gunpowder there, and there's iron blocks everywhere. So it is on fire, and it will have to test at some points during the battle regarding if they put the fire out or not, or if it spreads. Okay, and the French will continue their advance. So we are running 4 movement points, -1 for calm conditions, so it's 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll finish our group command movement. Okay, and now the French pass to the British. Now the British did move all out of commands before, and the only ships they still have to move is their group command, and they have to do it. So we have Taylor here commanding the Fortitude, and they are on a running. So he has 4 movement points, -1 for calm conditions. So what he's going to do is he's going to move 1, make a rotation, okay. Now an important thing, which is regarding a rake attempt. Okay, the rakes are easy to spot. You have to make sure that when you are shooting is a full broadside and that it goes through the exact line of hexagons or squares. I call them squares. The line of squares that goes through the length of the ship. It's not only that, it's that the ship attempting the rake must entirely cross the rake line. So, for example, I spent 1 movement, then rotated for 0, and I have 2 more. And the thing is, I will go here, I'm in the rake line, I go here, and that's, yeah, so I spent all the movement available for me, but I am still in the rake line. I would have to end it here. If the sea wasn't calm, I would be able to rake. So for raking, you must cross the rake line. You can't just stand there and rake continuously. So don't know if that was clear enough. So if you want to attempt a rake, which is aiming at the hull, you must cross and exit the rake line, and you can't repeat it, obviously. Okay, so but we moved 1, rotated for 0, 2, and we are going to back sails. So we spent 3. And now we are going to shoot with our port side into the Victoire rigging. I find strange that the Brits are firing at the rigging. Maybe I should concentrate on hull and limit the firepower of the Frenchies. But with the rigging I stopped them moving so fast and might provoke some confusion. But the Frenchies eventually are bringing all this firepower to bear on us. What to do? Okay, I'm going to fire at the hull then. So back to our table, we are a relative rate of 3. And it's a full broadside, not partial. So relative rate of 3. Our range is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 6. Okay. We have no shading. Our audacity is 1, so we add 1 for 7. And it's not initial broadside, but we have the carronade bones, so it becomes, no, we don't, must be 3 or less. So it's a 7. There we go. We have a 7. We're aiming at the hull. Doesn't mean we hit the hull. Oh, red die, sorry. We are, okay, we rolled an 8. So an 8, aiming at the hull, we are British firing, becomes a 9. And we are firing into the wind, becomes an 8. So we cross-reference the 8 with the 7 column, aiming at the hull. We did 2 hull hits and 1 rig on the Victoire. So the Victoire now has 2 hull hits and 3 rigging. And the 3 rigging is -1 movement point. Yep, it's already on -1. Same with the Sensor and same with the Bedford actually. Okay, Sensor is out of command. Okay, we have the Bedford, which has -1 movement point because it has 3 rigging hits already. Well, we are reaching. We have 5 movement points. Becomes 4 because of the calm weather, -1 because of the rigging damage, becomes 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll check the fire soon enough. We already moved all the Brits, so now it's the Frenchies. Okay, the Révolution, let's check, it continues out of command. The Duquesne as well, but they don't need to shoot, so they just move forward with 5, -1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they are running. Sorry. It's only 4 movement -1. So it's only 3. Okay. So that was the end of all the activations. So now we have to check. Disengage ships. Select another command. Melee combat. Okay, we have to go to the segment of ship status check. So ship fires, and we have to check ship fire on the Bedford. And we have our fires table, ships on fire table, so we have to roll a die. And it's a 7, and the 7 on the table reads 1 more rigging hit, the fire is not extinguished. So the Bedford now has 4 rigging hits, and oh yeah, there's an asterisk which if I'm fouled and the ship might spread. Okay, the fire, if I'm fouled or grappled ship, fire spreads on a 7 or more. Okay, you have to roll. It might explode. Oh, the fire spread. And that's pretty much it. If I had rolled a 9 after determining the spread, roll another die. If the roll is 9, the ship explodes. Wow. No, it's a 5. Jesus, I saw the 9 there for a moment. Alright. That's pretty much it. So we remove the broadside markers. By the way, this is just cotton. It's no markers. Well, it's markers, just made out of cotton. Okay, the out of commands we have to check for the next turn. So, for this turn, what did we see? We saw the fire and the possibility of explosion. We saw not a rake, because we didn't cross the rake line entirely. That's how the rake works. You must cross the rake line. You must start before and end after. And at the same time, we saw how the initiative passes between both sides, considering the out of command ships. So, well, this was only turn 4. Next will be turn 5, but we will see that in the next episode. This turn was a bit more focused on some of the rules, and excuse me for some of the, well, some mistakes, and leave your comments and suggestions. So see you very, very soon. Have a good night.